morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another round of Rush Racing League Reserve Program. This time we are getting ready as we prepare ourselves for the 100% Grand Prix weekend of Hungary coming up. The second of three 100% weekends or weeks that we got coming up here. So, just to kind of simulate how it normally goes, we are actually just doing regular sim racing Grand Prix distance. So it is a 50% race as per usual instead of the 35 that normally happens on the reserve program. So we got still short quality followed by a 35 lap race. So it should be a interesting one here. Nevertheless, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Ruckus, and I'll be one of your hosts and commentators for tonight's broadcast. And alongside me is the one, the only, Kaus. How you doing tonight, mate?
Doing good, Rekus. Thank you very much for that fantastic intro. It's going to be an interesting night of racing. As you perfectly mentioned there, that this is going to be a 50% race, is what we normally do at Rush Racing League. But for this week, specifically for Hungary, we are doing 100%ers for all five of the divisions. So that means that the strategy will definitely come into play for a track like Hungary, which is typically very difficult to pass, especially if you're struggling to save ERS during your lap, trying to build it up. Um, so hopefully we can see some more fighting amongst each other in the divisions. I think there might be a bit of a struggle streak tonight because it is only that 50%er, and usually that means that one specific strategy is going to dominate. That should be the one stop, but we might see some keen gamers that might be interested in sussing out a two-stop strategy tonight, especially since it is the reserve race. So they might be exploring, testing setups for the later divisions during the week. But yeah, interested to see what happens tonight, and we'll kick off with qualifying.
Indeed, as we get kicked off of qualifying, we'll just jump straight onto the track as we see here. And we do have some cars already on an outlap here. We do have some new names, some new faces. We're going to go through all of them, new and old. We got Gangster, Abhishek, Superduck, Huddy the Goat, Jorgo, Foka, Symphonic, Flying Kiwi, Ryan Adair, Molnir, I believe that's Molnir, M. John, we'll just call him John. And then we have CJ, Comrade Coops, Phoenix, who you may have heard in the commentary booth during the China Reserve program a couple of weeks ago. And then we have Rossi, Toe, Byron, the Governor, Devo, and Levo rounding out the field here tonight. So, should be a interesting grid. We do have Jorgo on a lap at the moment, making his way through the Hungaroring. And like Cal said earlier, this is not an easy track to pass on. It is known as Monaco with the wall or without the walls. It is a very narrow track, a track that recently had a lot of its facilities updated ahead of, I believe, the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix. Just recently made some. The track layout has stayed the same since 2003, but it has had some facility updates. I think mostly around like the paddock and pit areas. Nothing that will really affect the track. I think it might have also been repaved, but here in F125, the layout has stayed the same as it has been ever since 2003. As Jorgo does at the first lap of the session, it's a 1:15.4 to kickstart things here. So you will see quite a big gap in the times because we do have drivers from every division competing here tonight, from Div 1 to Div 5. But that's what makes these reserve program races so exciting, is that you do have so many different varying skills all giving it a go here.
Yeah, different varying skill levels, and it means that you can really test yourself against other opposition that are really competitive. I think we'll be seeing as he just passes through the start finish to go their pole position provisionally. Ryan Adair, I think he should, in theory, be the guy that would take out the competition tonight. Very, very strong Div 1 driver. Has done it in Div 2 as well. Just a quality, a very experienced campaigner when it comes to Grand Prix racing. So I fully expect him to make the difference and to be pole position when it's all said and done. I think the updates that you were mentioning there, Rekus, I think is if we jump on board with Ryan Adair at the moment is in this section as well. I don't specifically remember those curves being so big in previous iterations of the game. I think the last time I drove this track was F1 2019. I don't remember those curves being so massive. So that might be something that they improved on when they did the repurposing in real life and therefore integrated it into the game. Um, I think this race is, as I mentioned before, is going to be all about trying to save ERS when it gets to that specific point. Run a dare. Doesn't look like he was on a lap. That looks like he was going a bit sideways. Really pushing the limits of the back end there on that Rari. But it should be all fine and dandy. Just a couple of
Ooh,
overheated rear end.
almost a bit of contact there between M. John and Phoenix. Phoenix on a bit of a recharge lap themselves, as John is going to continue on. I mean, that's the trick I think about this track is if you try to do like a charge lap, there's not a lot of room to really for anyone to pass you, so it's you pretty much gotta have eyes in the back of your head trying to see when someone is trying to come around. M. John is gonna come across the line though. We'll see what his time is gonna be. Good enough for P2. So M. John already looking very strong here in this reserve program event. As now we jump down to let's go and jump down to Com United. One of the kick salvers going out on a lap at the moment. Pushing, using a good amount of the ERS down the straight. Coming down from turns 11. Oh, sorry, that's a run from turn 3 to turn 4. As we continue to make our way around the Hungary. Coming into sector 2. Now, this is a part of the track where it's really difficult. It's got those massive curves that you really want to kind of avoid in the beginning. And then now you're pretty much just making the run all the way to turn 11. And this will set you up for the double hairpin leading up to the start finish line. If you can get a good run here, you might have a good shot of getting an overtake coming down into turn 1. But so far, Com United is making good time, but it's definitely going to be a bit off the front runners. As he comes across the line now, he is currently good enough for P8 or 15 at the moment. But this is with the caveat that we do have all 5 divisions represented here.
Yeah, correct. And that's what I was about to mention is it is going to be a bit of a disparity between a lot of these drivers. But as I mentioned before, this is a really good challenge, especially if you're a driver that is in Div 5, Div 4, Div 3, looking to really test yourself against these top guys. Just on board with Com United there, I think there was a lot of just throwing it into the corner. I want to see him be a lot more precise and make a lot of intent with his inputs if he goes for another run. I think it just seemed a bit rough on the edges. Maybe he hasn't had a lot of time on the track. It's feeling a bit maybe not so comfortable as maybe some other drivers are. So could just be some a bit of inexperience in the track. But yeah, if he can just tidy it up, I think he can put on at least a second a lap faster heading into the rest of his qualifying.
Yeah, this is a track where you 100% need confidence, because if you don't have confidence on this track, you're not going to get a great lap time, because you really just need to put your best foot forward and just experience really helps as well with this track. I feel like even more than a lot of other tracks as well, because Hungary is, in terms of racing, I mean, in terms of sim racing, I mean, if you compare it to a track like Monza or Suzuka, Spa, the Nürburgring, etc., those tracks are pretty much on every sim platform. Hungary, on the other hand, is not nearly as common. It's primarily on these F1 games, so you can't really rely on that prior experience if you're used to it on a different simulator like Gran Turismo, like iRacing, Assetto Corsa, etc. I know it's not on Gran Turismo. I don't know if I don't think it's on iRacing either. So it's really F1 might be really your only shot unless you have like modded Assetto Corsa, which could honestly help you, but it's such a different platform compared to F1 25 that I mean you really just gotta drive the track and get, for the lack of a better way of phrasing, you just gotta get good at this track. I mean that's pretty much the main thing about it. It rewards experience. It is probably one of the hardest tracks to really get a grasp on.
Yeah, it's a good point that you make. Honestly, I think it being very specific in its characteristics to, you know, it's funny, right? Because you're on a Grand Prix level track with curbs. It's designed as like a Grand Prix racing venue, but it almost acts like a street circuit in its characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Very tight, one lane. There's not a lot of opportunities to try to make advantages on drivers. Very very tight. So yeah, I do agree with that, and your skills need to be transferable from as just a driver on its own, right? You can't rely on that transferable sort of skills from different simulators. So it's a good point you make there, Wreckers. As we see, Ryan Adair goes, I think, about 3 tenths faster from his previous lap. So, as I mentioned before, I think he will be the guy that everyone will have their eyes on, see what times he's doing. You reckon he'll get into the 114 tonight, Wreckers?
It's certainly possible, and I think if anyone could do it, it could be Ryan Adair. Now he no longer has that nerf of his Xbox going kaboom. If anyone remembers from about 2 seasons ago, Ryan Adair was back then, his gamer tag would show XD Lamb, and you may hear us refer to him as Lamb at some point. But he always had this really terrible luck when he would win or he would be close to winning a race and then his Xbox like shuts off because he was on a first gen Xbox One. So that would just shut off on him and he would just lose so much progress. Koopsy's gonna come across the line. There's definitely more time on the board. I did see a bit of a snap coming through turn 13, so definitely some time on the board, but about a second and a half away from Ryan Adair's time. Not too bad. If it was Div 1, then I would say that's a bit problematic, but like we said, there are a variety of divisions being represented here, so I mean being within, if you're not in the top division and you're within a second or 2 seconds of the top div guy, then you're not really in a bad spot. We'll see how Rossi is going to go ahead and do. And it's interesting too, the beauty of Formula One is that there's a lot of tracks that are designed in different eras, around different types of machinery. This Hungaroring was opened in 1986, so it's not exactly a new track by any stretch, but and then we look at a track like Qatar, which we'll be heading to in a couple of weeks' time. That track was actually designed for motorcycle Grand Prix racing. It wasn't even designed for car Grand Prix racing, but it just ended up being used as a Grand Prix track for Formula One. It's also used in World Endurance as well. So, and I mean, we were talking about those transferable skills being utilized from sim to sim. Qatar is another one that's really, I mean, now it's now an LMU, so you at least got one other avenue to test it in. But yeah, it is an interesting case for Hungary. You really don't have, outside of F1, you really don't have a lot of options to really practice this track in. Because even though F1 cars are going to be the fastest cars you could drive on this track, right? Because, it's the pinnacle of motorsports. Generally, they are the fastest cars. They have the most downforce, the most technologically advanced and such. That muscle memory is still a key factor. Like, even if you're driving like a Porsche Cup car or, an LMP, a GT3, GT4, motorcycle even, there's still a lot of muscle memory that gets like transferred from one simulator to another, from one car type to another. And with Hungary really almost being mutually exclusive to F1, don't got a lot of places to really build up that muscle that you can take some memory from.
Yeah, I agree. Track familiarity is something that is a little bit under recognized, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think, but it also means that it proposes a different opportunity, right? You know, can you rise above that inexperience and almost bring out some raw pace and skill that you have as a driver to show it off in this instance where a lot of people are going to be quite inexperienced on the track, not know it's maybe little quirks and bumps that you might be losing time on. So we'll see how the drivers go ahead. We're getting near the end of qualifying. I do want to jump on board with someone that hopefully is starting a lap soon. I do see an Alpine that is on the track, but it looks like they're at the end of their lap here, and that is Foka, who is jumping into the pits. Do you see a Haas that is coming around? Let's see if we can jump on board with him. Does look like it's Phoenix Flyer, and they're at the end of their lap as well. Can they improve? Just maybe they do. A 122. Maybe might need a little bit more to get out of that bottom position. Let's see if there's a Red Bull that's coming around the corner here. There's an RB. Looks like they're at the end of their lap, though. Is anyone starting? I feel like everyone's just ending their laps at the moment. There's a McLaren. Here we go. Levo. Thank you very much, my friend. Let's see what Levo can do at the beginning of his lap. Giorgio does take pole position away from Ryan Adair. Well done, mate. A 15.1. 300ths off of Ryan Adair. But let's jump on board with Levo here as he starts a lap here at the Hungaro ring, using a lot of ERS here on the start finish, down to 73%. Turn in is nice. No wheel spin when he gets on the power there, so it's a great start to the lap so far here with Levo for McLaren. Turning into the turn 2 section here, gets on the ERS, rides that curb nicely and kisses the outside curb. Jumps off the ERS down to 50%, turns the car in nice, keeps it on in between the white lines. And a nice tidy turn here on the right-hander. A little bit of ERS usage just before the 50-meter brake board. Rides the curbs a bit on both sides. Might have lost a little bit of time doing that, but see what the timing screen says at the end of the lap. Really tidy so far, though. Really good lap. See if he will continue as he just passes the Aramco board there. Down to 30% already for the turn in for the double hairpin. Nice turn in for the left. Maybe a little bit of time on the board there. Maybe could have just braked a little bit early and got that turn in nice and tight. Really, really ease on the power here. Don't want to get on it too early because you might scrub a lot of speed. Solid lap from Levo, 16.0, so not bad at all.
Yeah, that's a very good lap time there for Levo, as he will remain in P6. Quite a few drivers still on the lap. We'll check in with Ryan Adair, as we'll see he is improving, and that improvement would be enough to put him back into pole position if he could hold on to it. Giorgio did go ahead and retire from the session, so he will not be setting another time. We are in the closing stages of quali, less than 5 minutes to go. Probably closer to about 2 minutes realistically. Actually, less than a minute in general. So this might be the final lap for quite a few drivers here. He's up by 3/10. So Ryan Adair looking to break into the 114s. Can he hold on though? That is going to be the question. He's going to hold on and try to fight for his life in that pole position. Coming around the final hairpin, that turn 14 across the line. It is over half a second of an improvement. He jumps up into the lead. And we can just see by the movement on the straight, he is happy about that one. Let's see if anyone else can improve.
That was a nice lap from Ryan Adair. Really, really threw it in the last sector there. That was really, really quality from him. See if there's anybody else that can improve. Does look like Gangster comes through the line and stays P4. Symphonic goes to P5. Do have a Haas that is coming through the final turn. That's Super Duck P17 with a 17.6. Not a bad time from him. And I think Abhishek also came through with a 16.8 to go up to P7. Looks like we have a few more drivers coming through. Governor gets P13. Toe goes to P12. Anybody else that can disrupt the order at the moment? I think both the Alpines are on track, but Koopsie does look like he will not finish his lap. So let's see if Fokar can make the difference. Currently P15 coming around the final turn here. Using a lot of ERS in this lap. It's what we like to see. Can he improve? Does so. P11, great stuff from Fokar. And I think we do have a Mercedes that's also coming through. That is John jumping into the pits. I think there is a McLaren that is out there, but I think he has finished his lap. Doesn't look like anybody else is on a flyer, so this will look like your grid for the reserve race here at Rush Racing. Rush Racing? Rush Racing at the Hungary Grand Prix.
Exactly that. We're just waiting for John to fully come into the pits, but it is indeed Ryan Adair having a very beautiful Ferrari slide there. I mean, this was basically a joyride lap for him. He's got nothing left to prove. He is feeling it tonight. So Ryan Adair is definitely going to be the driver to beat tonight. And maybe even in Div 1 in general, he was looking very, very punchy, very, very quick. Feels very, very dialed in tonight. This is probably the most dialed in I've ever seen Lamb in recent memory. He is just locked in. Taking a look at the order, it is Ryan Adair to Giorgio to John to Gangster, Symphonic, Levo, Abhishek, Byron, CJ, Huddy, Foka, Devo, Toe, the Governor, Koopsie, Rossi, Flying Kiwi, Superduck, Com United, and Phoenix rounding out the field here tonight. So, should be a fun one. Looking forward to seeing how these drivers go when it is racing time. 35 laps around the Hungaroring will be the name of the game here tonight. So, is there any bold predictions that you have coming into this one, Kaus? Because honestly, I think Ryan Adair might just check out after turn one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? You
Interesting.
know, he might have had like a really good qualifying there. Might not have the setup pace to continue on. I will re-invite you there, Rekus.
Yeah, actually, my game
What?
crashed because it said anti-cheat had a failure. That's a first. I thought
Whoa, anti-cheat Rekus. Whoa, what are we trying to say, mate? What's going on?
I haven't even done an online race in this game. I think I've done like a single online race. If I had anything installed, it would have been actually would have even let me in the lobby. Um, but that is an interesting one. That that
That's
is
all
gonna
right.
be
Look,
a meme that's gonna live on in Rush Pantheon for quite some time. That is that's insane. I've never had that one happen to me before. Welcome to
that's all
commentary,
right.
everybody. You always run into some sort of tech issue with F125. You gotta love it. EA Javelin deciding that it was time for me to pack it up. He basically told me to shut up, stop yapping, and we'll get back into the action as soon as possible.
Yes, we will. I'll just quickly, if the race does start, I'll do my best to commentate the start and give everyone the radio play by play. I'll do my absolute best while Rekus does everything he can to get back into the lobby. And we do actually have the 4 lights, 5 lights, and we are way and racing here at Hungary. Ryan Adair does get a really nice start to begin the race. Coming through though, we do have a RB that's coming in on the inside. That is Giorgio to take the lead of the Grand Prix away from Ryan Adair. And John also makes the overtake on Ryan Adair as well. He falls to P3 at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Symphonic is right on his tail to try to even get that P3 position away. There is some mischief that's going on in the back of the grid. I'm not too sure what has happened, but it looks like there has been a shift in the order during the beginning of the Grand Prix here in the first couple turns. We do have Symphonic up in P4, the two McLarens in Gangster and Levo in P5 and 6, Abhishek P7, Huddy P8, CJ P9, and Koopsie P10 at the moment. Giorgio is leading the Grand Prix here so far, and it looks like to be pulling away from John as well. Ryan Adair will be trying to chase him down as we get to the lap 2 to start for the Grand Prix. They're currently going through the double hairpin here, the left turn here. for the front three, and they're just coming around into the final turn, but looks to be a safety car. There might have been an incident with Phoenix there. They have actually DNF'd from the race, so they might have had a coming together. Doesn't look like there's any cars with any immediate damage that I can notice, but we do have two individuals that are coming in to change tyres under the safety car. We have Toe, Rossi, and Foka, who are all making pit stops in the first lap. But just to quickly round out your top 10 here for the radio cast of Rush Racing League, hosted by House here tonight. We've got Giorgio P1, Mr. John P2, Ryan Adair P3, Symphonic P4, Gangster and Levo in P5 and 6, Abhishek P7, Huddy P8, CJ P9, Coopsy P10, and it does look like Wreckers, you are back in the frame, mate. Welcome back. Thank you very much for your assistance, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for, I'll have to get you some aspirin or something for the way that your back runs are from carrying that race start with that beautiful radio commentary. But yeah, it is good to be back. I'm sure our viewers definitely enjoyed that. I see it in the Twitch chat that it was definitely a very popular. You definitely have a future in radio broadcast, that is for certain. But a few drivers getting caught out by the VSC, WRT Rossi in particular getting caught out here, as there is a few cars just miles off the back of everybody. As we continue racing here, it is back to racing action here. Welcome back, everyone, to Rush Racing League in Hungary. Ryan dropped a few spots off from where he started. Taking a look at the tires here. Pretty much everybody, with the exception of two drivers that pitted in on the opening lap, on the mediums. And then there was quite a few damage that did get damaged in the early stages. Like my amazing radio commentator was mentioning. So apparently it was interesting because I think Devo tried to sandwich someone, at least based on the chat. But it is going to be, Hungary is not an easy track. We talked about it. We spent about half a qualifying just talking about how tough this track is. But now we're seeing it really come to fruition in Grand Prix spec. And this is only about half of what we can expect during the actual Grand Prix coming up this week. We got 5 100% Grand Prix around this track this week. It all starts with Div 1 on Saturday. So Div 1 on Saturday will kick off our 100% Grand Prix streak. As we had our first one in, I believe it wasn't Bahrain. We have another car into the pits. That is going to be M-John into the pits. We did have a 100% race earlier on in the season. And then this is the second one. And our final one is at Spa-Francorchamps a little while down the line. M-John into the pits, though. A bit of an interesting one. Oh, yeah, that's right. I think he had a drive-through he had to serve. Because of that
Yeah,
VSC,
he did. Him and Rossi had drive-throughs.
I knew somebody else had. I just missed on who. But that's going to promote Ryan Adair back up into P2 as he chases down Giorgio for the lead.
Yeah, we'll see how Ryan Adair fares in this fight. Giorgio did do a really nice overtake on the inside of turn 1 at the start of the Grand Prix. Did look like Ryan Adair did get caught out a little bit, maybe cold tires, missed the braking point. He did lose 2 positions at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but looks like he's getting into his groove. Let's see if he can make the overtake here. He is 2 tenths behind Giorgio going into the double hairpin here. There seems to be a yellow flag. It looks like there's a Haas that's on the side of the road.
That's an Aston, actually.
That is Bryson. That is Byron. Looks to be going the wrong way around. But I want to focus my attention here on the front of the grid. Ryan Adair does look to have that DRS and a lot of ERS to work with. Is going to try and make the overtake on the inside, just like Giorgio did at the beginning of the Grand Prix. But Giorgio might be able to get another run on him. But does look like he doesn't get the DRS detection point that Ryan Adair has, and will have to settle for P2 in the fight for the win here. Symphonic looks like he wants to get involved in this battle a little bit too. Giorgio is going to dart to the right-hand side, but not going to be able to make the overtake in that section there, my friend. Maybe in another life when we've got 1 meter with cars, that would probably be a bike, but won't be happening with the size of these Grand Prix vehicles at the moment.
Maybe the 2026 Rex, because they are a bit shorter and a bit skinnier. And this time, I did not curse Phoenix. That would have been Kaus's job. We already Kaus was already pre-designated to curse the Haas reserve driver, the chess master of Rush Racing League. Unfortunately, taken out in the lap one incidents. I cursed myself by somehow causing anti-cheat to have an aneurysm.
That is impressive. I won't lie, Wrecker. So that's a first. Anti-cheat coming to effect on F125. That's unreal. Hey, at least we know it might work in some
instances. Might. Keyword might. Okay, for those of you who have been around Rush for the last couple of seasons, I have had my game crash in the most creative of ways. I have had the most creative issues during broadcasts on numerous occasions. So it's all part of the game. Once you start hosting streams yourself, Kals, you'll run into some pretty funny stuff. As we do see right now, Giorgio and Ryan really coming to blows here, really trying to find anything. But their battling is allowing a certain Symphonic to jump back into the fray and put himself in that conversation. Hopefully one of their anti-cheats doesn't fire up and take one of them out of the race.
You might have just started a new meta here, Rekus. The anti-cheat's coming into effect. While we're talking about anti-cheat, I did see some really nice overtakes from Z Governor in some very unorthodox places there in Sector 2. And also from our good friend John, who had to serve the drive-through penalty, did make the overtake on Devo as well in Sector 2 in a similar spot. With Byron getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings of driving off the track. It's not what you want to see. But I want to keep my eyes peeled on this battle here for P13. Looks like Soup for Duck has a lot of attention behind him. Sorry, I mean Flying Kiwi, and he looks to be getting overtaken by Soup for Duck here for P12. Maybe John can go for a similar overtake. Oh my god. That could have been a lot worse, but he's still driving on the track. A little bit of overspeed almost. Might have missed a braking point there for Flying Kiwi. But does look like they negotiated it fairly competently. Might be a few words at the end of the race, but Mr. John up 2 positions from all that fighting there.
Yeah, and also Carmen Honda did lose an end plate there on his kick Sauber. So the Williams of Devo is going to have a good time as Toe gets a 3-second time penalty for track limit violations. Track limits here are pretty spicy. They will pretty much grab you when you least expect it, kind of like the hot chicken I ate earlier today. As now Devo is going to try to continue to put some pressure onto Com United. And we're actually seeing a lot of battles just up and down the field. The 2 Red Bulls are pretty close to each other. And then obviously Giorgio is still trying to close into Ryan Adair up at the front. So we're seeing a lot of good battles here. Koopsie now. Oh, actually, here we go. It's actually an Alpine of Koopsie trying to get one onto your boy CJ. And CJ is not his boy right now. He makes him his target as Koopsie gets across and past. A little bit of contact there. Surprised that the end plates on that Aston Martin are still attached. It looked like some very rough bumping and barging. That Alpine looks very on point. It looks like it's very on the nose, even a little twitchy even coming through some of these corners. Just watching the Alpine of Koopsie here, and we're seeing a bit of snapping coming through some of the corners. And you want your car to be fully planted on this track, especially through Sector 2, because you have so many rapid positional changes. And that is, I mean, it's interesting. Not ideal either, but as long as you can just stay ahead of the car behind, then I think you're still doing a pretty good job. As Ryan Adair is starting to check out here. He's already about a second ahead, just outside of the all-important DRS range.
Yeah, I think Ryanair is showing a lot of his experience and quality here. Is starting to attempting to try to pull away from these other two, but I think that DRS is just keeping them in touching distance. Does look like Flying Kiwi was losing a few positions in the middle of the pack there during that lap specifically. We will be coming to a point where the runners that want to do the two-stop need to start thinking about a pit stop very shortly. And if you're looking for a one-stop, you might have to sort of push the tires to maybe lap 17, 16, somewhere around there, to try to make sure that you've got enough life in the hard tire to close out the stint for yourself and not put yourself in a shocking position when you get to the end of the Grand Prix. Looks like there is a yellow flag here for Rossi, who's actually coming into pit lane. And gives himself a
Ooh.
10 seconds drive
Well,
through.
that's
He did
retired
not
again.
let go of that acceleration, by the way. That was he's retired. Okay, fair enough. That looked kind of questionable the way he just flogged the car through the pit straight. That's all right. He's retiring the car, so no worries there. So we can keep our eyes on the front pack. Maybe an overtake can happen here for Giorgio. Is a bit too far away. CJ looks to be very close, and there's another overtake on Kiwi. That's Devo this time making the move done, as well as the Ferrari of Toe making a move on Byron just before the start-finish straight. So hopefully he can hold that position going into the start-finish. Looks like they both have some sort of penalties. I'll just quickly see what type of penalties they are. They're both 3 seconds, so they're just unfortunate track infringements, going a little bit too much off the track. So that's just a small one that they'll have to negotiate, have to deal with. So yeah, interesting beginning start of the race. I'll quickly just jump over to the tires as well. Vast majority of the grid, of course, started on those medium compound tires. A few brave folks over at Toe and Foka looks to be the individuals that switched over to that hard compound under that safety car that came out for Phoenix when he was unfortunately taken out. And Com United was one of the first runners to switch over to the hard compound nice and early. He's on 2 lap old hard tires, so he might be trying to get a two-stop working on this track. Seems to be running into a little bit of traffic with Foka in front of him, and he's going to try to get the move done as he does have that fresher compound. So we'll see how it goes on. The complexion of the race is starting to show. So we'll start to see the pit lane get very, very occupied in the next few laps here, Ruckus.
Yeah, and I mean, there's gonna be a lot of drivers trying to get some data here for how the two-stop could come into play because, granted, it is a 50% race here tonight, like it is in normal Rush Racing League, like the normal weekends and weeks, but coming up, it is that 100% race, so it is a full Grand Prix distance, so it is gonna be exactly 70 laps around this track, starting on Saturday, so the data won't be exactly perfect because the tire wear does skew based on how long or short your race is. So we are going to see some drivers really try to work with strategy or try to see how viable a two-stop might be. Just trying to get some rough data just to kind of see how it could go if the two-stop is viable in the Grand Prix, which it very well could be. And probably trying to get a feel for the tire degradation and how the tires kind of behave. Cause you can do some math and try to figure out how long tires can last, even with different ratios of how long a race is versus the tire wear percentage. Race. I remember in third grade, I told my teacher that racing does not involve math whatsoever. Boy, how wrong like 10-year-old me was. As Abhishek now gets a 3-second pen. Alpine has had it off. That is going to be Koopsy having a bit of an off there. As we continue on here with the Grand Prix, it is lap 12 out of 35 here. As Koopsy is going to try to recover a bit, but Ryan Adair has broken out of DRS range here, which is very crucial for his race.
Yeah, I'll just quickly give some context as to Koopsies off. He did have another run-in with your boy CJ in that instance. I do think there might be a penalty coming CJ's way for that. It was very much alongside, and it was really unnecessary. Kind of his inputs there. It looked like he tried to push Koopsie out, but it was really aggressive. In my opinion, granted, I'm not a steward, but it was quite an aggressive move that he did on Koopsie. So. Hopefully they might have to sort that out after the race. But yeah, here we go. The pit lane is starting to get occupied. Ryan Adair, your first individual that is going to chuck on the hard compound. I think that's an interesting strategy to do it this early. He might have a lot of confidence in his tyre to go quite long. But I do think it's not a bad decision. Right track position is very important on a track like Hungary. So maybe he thinks he can get in a maybe he thinks he can get in an early pit stop, try to maybe get a little bit ahead of the and get that undercut really working. But he is in traffic, so it doesn't look like it's the greatest choice. See how that ends up as he does get
Oh,
himself a 3 second. That's not what you want to see. Trying to fight through the field, so bit of an unfortunate one. We'll see how it all shakes out.
oh, I think there's been a little bit of contact there between himself and Koopsie as he does make his way through. He gets through on that very tricky chicane with mile-high curbs right through turns 8 and 9. And Foka now gets a 3-second time penalty, and Ryan is just carving his way through the field.
George
He gets
Symphonic
past.
in the pits.
He goes through CJ as now his two competitors are in the pits now of Jorgo and Symphonic. They'll both come out behind Ryan, I believe. We'll actually see. Oh yeah, they'll come out considerably
Way behind.
behind. And actually,
So the
Ryan
undercuts worked really well then.
Ryan gets past M. John there, using DRS even, so they comes out pretty well ahead of yeah, actually, Jorgo's down in the 8th, about a second off of CJ. So this did actually work out extremely well for Ryan, despite that 3-second penalty. We'll see if he can
Yeah,
go ahead and try to close in the gap, but so far it looks like that strategy call was the correct one.
Yeah, he made a right decision there to pit nice and early. Sorry to cut you off there, Recker, so I apologise.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but we'll see how it goes as the race progresses. Another 3 second again for another driver, Heidi the Goat. A lot of penalties to be served at the end of this Grand Prix, so it ain't over until the checkered flag comes out. Maybe these guys could potentially use that pace advantage that they will get from pitting a lap later. But I think, as we mentioned before, track position is so important on a track like Hungary, where it's so difficult to make those overtakes. You really kind of need to be in a position where you can hold your ERS and not use it throughout the lap, while also simultaneously still gaining on the person in front of you. It's really difficult to try to make an overtake happen. The pit lane is getting quite occupied here, Reckers. A lot of individuals coming in to change those boots for the hard compound. Looks to be lap 15 is the key point that a lot of individuals are looking to change over those shoes. And we'll see a lot of the order start to shake up a bit.
I don't think tire drag is particularly high at this track compared to some other tracks that we have visited and that we are going to visit later on. So you probably could get Sidards to extend for quite some time on this track. So we'll just see as Ryan now gets past Abhishek, who has a bit of a moment. And oh, we have an Alpine off. That is Foka off at turn 1. Must have just sent it a bit too deep. But he's back on track. No damage to that Alpine A25 or A245. I think that's what their naming convention is. But moving on to moving on here, it is going to be the two McLarens closing on into soup, trying to get some soup from themselves, trying to get the soup away from the duck and soup for themselves. Level makes the dive into turn 13. That's actually a bit of an optimistic spot there, but it does work out pretty well as Soup actually is going to come into the pits, so not too bothered about losing those spots as he's coming into the pits anyway. The two McLarens are going to continue in P4, P5. And now we're seeing some other positions trade due to the pit stops. And now this field is actually pretty much well spread out here. The only cars in close competition as Kami United, he's called in the pits as well. So that is our third retirement from the Grand Prix. And oh, look at this. Abhishek and M. John duking it out for position coming through turn 2. Now you can make some overtakes into turn 2. You can get a good run here leading up into turns 3 and 4. It's a tricky track to overtake on, but if you're feeling brave enough, you can really make some solid movements here.
Yeah, you can indeed, Ruckus. Devo almost tried to make an overtake as Soup came out of the pits there, but didn't look like he had the pace to get it done. Maybe he can try on the start finish. Yeah, very experienced drive here so far for Ryanair. Very much ahead of the field in class and pace at the moment. Almost 7 seconds from P2. He does still have that 3 seconds to serve at the end of the Grand Prix. So maybe if Georgia and Symphonic, maybe they can work together, use that little bit of tire advantage that they built up from taking that hard compound a lap earlier. They could potentially get in distance of the 3 second, but looks like Toe might have had an issue. But he's just been double overtaken by the Red Bull and the Mercedes, with our good friend John that is going to be heading that battle at the moment and gets the up to P7. He did have that drive-through penalty earlier on in the Grand Prix, so the fact that he's just cutting through the field at the moment, P7, is showing a lot of quality here tonight, and hopefully he can keep pushing on and making those overtakes done. Good move from Abhishek as well to get past the Ferrari of Toe, who also looks to have a 3 second to serve as well. Speaking of Gangster with the 3 second of his own, he thought, why not? Get in on the party. Everyone else is getting 3 seconds. I want some too.
This is definitely one of those moments. I'm sure you might have heard it at some point. I don't know how popular this is in Australia, but in America, it's a common phrase for like a mom or a dad asks their child, like, if your friends jump off of a bridge, are you gonna do it too? That's how the penalties are happening right now. Is that one guy started jumping off the bridge of the penalties, and now everybody else is trying to get those 3 seconds. So, if you want to join the 3 second club, just take some WRC lines, and you should be okie dokie. You should be able to get in with a 3 second penalty. That's your name. But in all seriousness, it is a tough track with some pretty tough track limits. As CJ is going to close in the gap to Koopsy, looking to try to break into the top 10 here. Now, it is worth noting that there are no points on the board for the reserve program. It is pretty much exactly just trying to impress TPs, maybe ahead of the next silly season, and also a good chance for full-time drivers to really try to improve and try to get better at the track, get some extra practice in, etc., etc. But with that being said, there will be no post-race penalties, although if you do get one of these 3 seconds, you still got to serve it. Those are not getting removed, but no stewards investigations, although I got a feeling that they are going to be very busy this coming week when we do enter regular competition, as Toe, I think, has dropped some spots. I was thinking that might have been due to pits, but nope, a bit of a lockup in turn 13 for the
Yeah, it was really bizarre. Sorry, the Drakus. Yeah, I was just keeping my eye on that, and it was really bizarre. It almost looked like he almost gave the position to Koopsy and CJ. I'm looking at his front wing. It doesn't look like he has any damage, so maybe he just doesn't feel confident at the moment, and he just wants to let those guys through. He is on 17 lap old hard compound tires, so that might have something to do with it. Maybe he doesn't want to fight these guys too hard, let them through, just race his own race, and hopefully he can get them later on when he does eventually have to pit. So I think that might be the thinking there, but yeah, I think he needs to change those boots over as soon as possible when he can, because it doesn't look like they're very racy. Again, everyone's jumping off that cliff, Wreckers. Everybody wants if Ryan Adair's doing it, then we all must do it together. Devo with another 3 second. I think he's up to 6 at the moment with the penalties. He is indeed. He's the first driver with 6 seconds. Hopefully, no one else joins him on that one because that could be a lot worse. Speaking of which, there goes Byron. He gets himself a 6 second time penalty as well. So, yeah, look, these penalties can be very, very costly, right? If they keep stacking up. So, I think it's just about trying to just keep it clean, keep it tidy, making sure you're putting yourself in the best position in your own race, right? That's what TPs will mainly be looking for, is someone who's, able to take the opportunities when presented to them. But for the most part, just, stay clean, stay tidy, do nothing that is going to cause issues, cause troubles, cause incidents. That's just going to be able to consistently get points week in and week out. So, and it'll be a good opportunity for these drivers. Oh my god, I almost just saw Fokar driving to Byron. Sorry there, Rekus. Fokar does look like he spun on his own at the end of the lap here. Byron taking advantage of that and just driving on by. But that could have been a lot worse than what it was. So, very, very close for Byron. Almost collected that front wing of Fokar, but navigated it fine. So hopefully they can just get through the rest of the race nice and cleanly and finish off in a strong position. But again, Ryan Adair setting the pace, setting the field, 8 seconds ahead at lap 21.
Byron is missing a front end plate on that Aston Martin though, so didn't exactly come away without a scratch, although that could have even been picked up a bit earlier on in the race. We tune in from one Aston Martin to another. It is CJ trying to make a move here as Toe comes into the pits. CJ now trying to go ahead and make his way closer to Koopsie, and he is going to continue to try to fight this one out. It is Aston versus Alpine, a fight we have seen quite a bit here tonight. Toe jumping onto the medium compound from those 18-lap-old hard tires. It'll be a bit of a tough one, but he'll probably be able to get to the end on that compound, as everybody ahead of him still does need to pit in, potentially, depending on how long these hard tires are going to last. I think 18 was about the sweet spot. That's what we're seeing right now from Foka, and that's what we saw from Toe. The drivers who did pit in under the safety car. So we might be able to see these guys get to the end on this compound, but it may be a bit of a tricky task here. Right, with all that considered, there's still a good amount of gaps being formed here. Ryan Adair now 8 seconds ahead, rendering that 3-second penalty more than moot as he continues basically hot lapping on this track until it's actually left. Was that a retirement on track? That is a retirement on track. Now, normally that would be a penalty in rush for retiring on track. I don't know exactly what the punishment is because I know it's different for the reserve program races, but that is indeed a retirement on track for the Ferrari of Toe, and he has called it on lap 22 out of 35. So not the ideal way to get a Grand Prix going for you, but it does happen sometimes. Sometimes it's not ideal. It's also a possibility it might have crashed too, but I think that might have been an on-track retirement. I'm not too sure. Some investigation
I think it
will
was
be done
an
about
on-track
that.
retirement.
Yeah,
I think it was an on-track retirement, Rekus. I think he, I wasn't on board with him when it did happen, but I just quickly ducked over to Byron. Didn't look like he had any damage. It was a bit of a bizarre place to kind of have an off if you do have one anyway. So I think it was an on-track retirement, which is not something that we want to see. We want to see, if you do end up retiring, please duck into the pits, then do that retirement if you need to, if something comes up. We understand that things happen, but yeah, if you can, that would be the ideal way to go about that. But didn't cause a safety car. Should be all fine and dandy. Doesn't look like his car is on the track anymore, so we all got away with that situation. So let's keep on focusing on the Grand Prix racing, which honestly at the moment there's a move here again. CJ and Koopsie back at it again. I think it's the third time they're battling tonight. Cupsy does look like he gets ahead. Oh, but CJ says, I've got the inside, son. You're going to have to go around the outside, buddy. Does end up getting that move done. Cupsy going to try again. Coming into turn 5. Oh, does look like he
Oh.
kisses the inside too much there, CJ. Is going to take a 3-second. Cupsy does not have to deal with a penalty of any kind as it stands. I want to keep my eyes peeled on this battle because I think this one's going to get feisty going into turn 1 here, Rekus.
Oh yeah, 100%, and we're gonna stay exactly with this battle. Coast one on track here at the moment, as Koopsy is gonna try to Oh, he's already looking for moves going into turn 12. That's an optimistic spot. He's gonna wait a bit because it is better to wait till after turn 13 because you do get that detection point.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. And he's going to go ahead because otherwise he would have made the overtake and then just been right back under pressure from the car behind with DRS. And it's going to be a heck of a dive there from Koopsy going into turn 13. Will he get DRS again? Yes, he does. And he's going to go ahead and just conceal the deal on that overtake. But I have a very strong feeling that it is not over yet. I don't think CJ is going to let that one go easily. Koopsy's going to not make things easy either. It's going to be a difficult battle between both of them as Ryan actually comes into the pits again. So Ryan, I think, is actually trying to two-stop here for this race. So we'll probably see him go on to a set of mediums, I'm going to assume. We'll see. No, I think it's another. Yeah, it's another set of hards. So, a two-step strategy here for the Ferrari of Ryan Adair. I honestly thought he was gonna make it to the end on that compound, but maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. He's definitely a very experienced campaigner, and we'll see how he navigates that strategy going into the last 10 laps of the Grand Prix. Yeah, I have a premonition this fight between Koopsy and CJ is not over yet. These guys have been going at it the entire Grand Prix so far. So
here, looks like, sorry to cut you off, but looks like M. John and Huddy are actually about to go out of here as well. They were within about 0.2 of a second earlier, and actually now the gap is really starting to grow out a bit as M. John might start to try to run away with this one here as they make their way through Sector 2. But it is still all to play for here in this battle, as pretty much almost everybody's fighting for some kind of position, whether it's the position ahead or just trying to make moves for the future, like we're seeing from Ryan Adair here.
yeah, we'll see what he can get done. He does have obviously the fresher compound here, and he should get the move done on Gangster going into the start-finish. But I'm not sure he'll be able to make it to the end. He'll be able to make it to the end, but I mean to get back that P1 position, Gangster gets quite close there, really pressing the narrative there a little bit. So, but yeah, I'm very interested to see how Ryan Adair can make this, I guess, move done. But let's focus our attention here on the McLaren and the Mercedes, where it looks like John, our good friend here in the Mercedes, got a move done on the McLaren of Levo. Really nice tidy move there on the inside of turn 1, and has driven away from the McLaren. So hopefully he can keep navigating his race and navigating the field and cutting through as well. He did have that drive through earlier on that I mentioned. So really solid race here from our good friend M. John. Looks like there was an Alpine that just decided to jump off the... Oh, he's got a blue flag. That's fair enough. M. John cutting through the field. Ryan Adair cutting through the field, but gets another 3 second. That's not what you want, especially when you're trying to chase down the win. I think he has 6 seconds worth of time penalties as well. So, yeah, not ideal, but I think if anyone can make it work, it is Ryan Adair tonight. See if he can get it done here.
I feel like I'm going to absolutely hate myself for making this joke, even though Ryan Adair does get the fastest lap. His penalty has been decreased to 6 seconds. Yeah, I'll take my brand now.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an unk, but I'm not at the same time. I'm a yunk. I think that's what the kids are calling it nowadays. If you're hit like early 20s, you are. I think actually some people would still say if you hit early 20s, you're an unk. Which, first of all, ouch. Second off, you're right. But anywho, on to the stuff that we actually do enjoy. CJ and Koopsie. I mean, this is basically our equivalent of Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson here tonight, as these two have just been absolutely going at it all night. This is round, I don't even know what at this point. These guys are still battling it out. To answer the question, there's only been one safety car or VSC, and that was during the lap one incident that happened very early on. After that, it has been pretty much smooth sailing. We've had some yellows in specific sectors, but it hasn't been another full course yellow since then. And honestly, I hope it
Hmm.
stays that way. I mean, ideally, we wouldn't have any yellow flags or safety cards at all. We just go straight from the moment green, but we'll take what we can get here. And I think that might be a bit of a theme coming through this week, and it's considering that it is 100% races. The first 100% race at Australia was a bit of a chaotic one, especially in, I believe it was Div 5, I think was the really chaotic one of the bunch, but we'll see how this week goes. You guys should definitely drop a follow if you guys are brand new, so you don't miss any of the action coming through this week. So, 5 100% races this week, all at Hungary, and it should be a fun week ahead.
Sorry there, Reckers. I was just keeping my eye on the on Ryan Adair cutting through the field. Symphonic looked to be struggling on those tires and was all over the place as Ryan Adair cuts through and just gets ahead of him going into the double hairpin that we mentioned in qualifying and gets the move done to move up to P2. I think he's going to do it tonight, Reckers. I wasn't too confident that he'd be able to get it done on these tires, but the pace difference that he's showing here tonight is proving to be too much for these front runners to handle. Jorgo going to be his next victim on the list. Does have about 6 laps of racing to go. And Mr. John M. John, our friend here in the Mercedes, gets another McLaren here for the taking up into P4. What a drive this fella's done tonight, especially on such a difficult track to overtake. He's just got it done. He's just got the job done, got involved, jumped in the car, done a fantastic drive so far. I think he's my driver of the day tonight, Reckers. I think he's done a fantastic job. But let's keep our eyes peeled on the front of the grid here. Ryan Adair chasing down Jorgo. Jorgo does seem to be saving a little bit of ERS during this section. Does get a nice run out of that exit. Going to try into this turn. Oh, maybe Jorgo turned a little bit too much, too early. Might have had some front wing damage as well in the making. And Ryan Adair does give the position back. See how they go into the start finish. Can they make it work? Can Ryan Adair get the job done? Can he get the first place position all the way to the right? Oh, Jorgo jinks to the left, comes back across. Oh, this is feisty stuff from the fellas out front. But it looks like Ryan Adair is going to get that inside line, but he's going to try and jockey Jorgo outwards. They are level side by side. Oh, Ryan Adair does get a little bit ahead. Jorgo still has the inside line. This is some racing here at the Hungaroring here, Reckers. That's a fantastic battle for the first place position. Wow, what a battle between these two fellas. Well done from Jorgo and Ryan Adair. Great racing, fellas.
Great racing indeed. Yeah, that was a lot more than I was expecting here at the Hungaroring. I was expecting this just to be like somewhat of a procession, really, just considering the nature of this track. But these guys have made anything but. I think Symphonic might try to get a little punchy here too. He's currently at P3 at the moment with about 6 laps to go. There will be no further joke on that. I've already used my one one young joke.
Reckers.
But focusing on the battle indeed, Symphonic is about 6/10 back, and the DRS does seem to be extremely effective around this track. So We're going to see if Symphonic can really try to make any kind of moves here. As now, just right on the back. He's going to get the DRS, but it's not going to be enough. He doesn't have a lot of ERS to play with. He's going to close in the gap, close it in. Not enough to make for a move, but he does have another DRS zone. Pretty much directly after his Gangster now gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And that is going to be Gangster out of this one as well. So that is one McLaren out and another McLaren getting overtaken and fighting with a Red Bull here. Coming into turn 2, this is going to be a center on the outside as Huddy the Goat gets a pass on Levo for P5 on the road. Very good overtake there from the Red Bull. We've seen a lot of good overtakes actually in that turn 2. Very, very fun stuff. You love to see it, especially on such a tight track like Hungary. It's a fun track. Not a track I'm good at. This is probably like one of my worst tracks to actually drive on. But considering what we've seen here tonight, this track is going to be pure cinema this week as we are down to the final 5.
Yeah, it was a really tidy overtake from Huddy to go. I do agree. He did manage that quite well and really closed off the opportunity to get to let Levo essentially fight back into this. And I kind of want to see Giorgio do something similar. Can Symphonic make the move done to get P2 in the Grand Prix? Is very far ahead, but Giorgio does have that inside line, and that is his favoured position, but does look to come out second best here. Doesn't have a lot of ERS to fight this either. I think he hasn't been managing it as well as the other front two have during the lap. I think that's how Ryan Adair really got it done on that second sort of mini DRS / straight section coming out of turn 1. So maybe something for Giorgio to really adjust if he does end up racing in the next few rounds here at Rush Racing. Has really displayed himself in a fantastic manner though tonight, fighting against the front 3 here and always up and amongst it, and hasn't given himself a penalty either. So he's keeping it clean, keeping it in between the lines, has shown a really, really level-headed approach to this race. But yeah, maybe he just needs to manage his ERS a little bit better, especially coming into these straights here at the Hungary ring.
As one of our commenters mentioned, the 2 funny numbers that shall not be repeated. We are riding on board with a McLaren that is trying to chase down the Red Bull for P5, and actually with these guys battling, Ryan has actually built out that 6-second buffer that he needed to still win this race. 3 laps to go here in Hungary. These top 3 are all Div 1 drivers. So we'll be able to see them go at it yet again on Saturday. And this is definitely, like you mentioned, with the ERS management. That's fine. Cuban gets a 3-second penalty for himself. There'll be some lessons that he will have learned coming into next week. So we'll see. Or this coming week, I should say. So we'll see if there is any improvement there from Jorgo. He's going to try to make any sort of improvement that he can. But, I mean, definitely some lessons to be learned here this week. ERS management is going to be so crucial on this track. So, it is going to be interesting to say the least. Especially with the amount of penalties that this field has gotten. Right, so it is going to be the penultimate lap of the Hungarian Reserve Grand Prix. And I'll send this one over to you, Cuz, for lap 34.
Yeah, thanks, Rekus. I think it's been a very interesting affair. Nice one, mate. Interesting affair tonight. Yeah, a lot of penalties. I think if you're watching this race and you're wanting to know what the key takeaways here from this Grand Prix and what we've seen so far tonight, I think it is try to keep your nose clean, really try to manage your ERS for the straights, and of course, I think the big one is we can see on the left-hand side of your screen all the penalties that a lot of these drivers will have to take when that checkered flag does eventually drop. I've got my eyes peeled on again. Koopsie and CJ going at it once again for P8. These guys fighting like cats and dogs tonight, but it's been a good battle. I think there was one sort of moment where it got a little bit too far. I think maybe CJ might have been a little bit too aggressive with his defensive moves, but other than that, still been a great fight from these two, and I think they should go away very proud of their performance and very happy with the battle that they've had against each other tonight. But I think all the plaudits go to a front runner who's actually on the grass and is mowing the outside line on to the start finish. So might have lost a little bit of time doing so. Really bizarre off there for Ryan Adair. I'm not sure what happened there. He might be able to give us some context as to what went wrong there. But we are on the final lap here at the Hungary ring. Ryan Adair is your leader, and I'm going to hand it off to Rekus for the final lap.
All right. Thank you, my man, Kaus. Oh, hang on a minute. John's out. John has called it. I don't know if he called it or crashed. I don't see where his car ended up anywhere, but on the final lap, M. John has crashed. Maybe you can check the race.
Yeah, he was on the start finish there, Rekus. I'll quickly just give that info. He was on the start finish, and it looked like he had an off all on his own, unfortunately, or maybe could have got caught up in some information, caught up in a battle. Sorry, but yeah, he did have an off there on the start finish there, Rekus.
Yeah, so that is very unfortunate. Abhishek joins the penalty club, but a driver who has joined the penalty club twice, he has a VIP pass there with 6 seconds of penalties. Those penalties are going to be rendered non-existent as he makes his way through the final corner. The prancing horse will prance into P1. Ryan Adair wins the Hungarian Reserve Grand Prix. P1 at a Symphonic, who will lose that position to Jorgo, demoting him into third. But still a podium in the reserve race for both Jorgo and Symphonic. Huddy actually going to make his way up into P4, but he does have penalties, so that will drop him down the order a bit. Levo actually getting a very, very strong P4 out of this once he comes across the line. Abhishek and Huddy, the Red Bulls, at P5 and P6. Koopsy now making his way to the line, and he'll come across the line in P8 or P7, just ahead of CJ, his rival, for P8. And we have seen some fantastic battles here tonight, as we have had 6 retirees on the night and 7 drivers who did finish the race on a 50% race and Rush Racing standard. That's a bit of an interesting one, but we'll see how that translates to the regular Grand Prix later this week. But Ryan Adair, P1, after a mighty fine drive here tonight. So a very good win, a very strong, commanding win as well. We'll see if he can carry that momentum into the rest of the week, starting with Div 1 on Saturday. So the celebration is live at the moment. Ryan Adair now showing his love to any of the Tifosi that might be in the Hungaroring stands. He takes home the biggest trophy, and that champagne will be sprayed around. And there we go. Celebrations are alive, and the drivers are celebrating a race well driven, but they still got to do it one more time next week. Fastest lap does go to Ryan Adair, so he gets the hat trick. Driver today is Super Duck, most overtakes for him as well, and the Governor is the cleanest driver. So running through the final order, it is going to be Ryan Adair out of Giorgio, Symphonic, Levo, Huddy the Goat, Abhishek, Koopsy, your boy CJ, Super Duck, the Governor, Devo, Flying Kiwi, Byron, Foka, and then we have the retirees of M. John, Gangster, Toe, Common United, Rossi, and Phoenix Flyer rounding out the field here tonight. So that is going to wrap things up here in Rush Racing League. It is the reserve program here tonight, so there will be no post-race interviews. But before we go, Kaus, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was a very interesting race. A lot more interesting than I was expecting it to be, especially it being Hungary. I think 11 of the 15 drivers that I just counted there did end up having to serve a penalty. So, something to look out for in the next few races for this division. If you're looking to get ahead of the competition, then just try to mitigate the amount of penalties that you can potentially receive as the race progresses on. So yeah, a lot to learn for a lot of the drivers here. Some really good showings from M John. I think he impressed tonight for me, and of course Ryan Adair, very experienced campaigner and experienced Grand Prix driver. So yeah, we'll see you all in the next few rounds, and all the best to the for the drivers for your remaining rounds after tonight.
Indeed. Well, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning on in to tonight's action here. A massive thank you to Sim Racing Center, SimLab, Pagny Advanced Simulation, and AI 369. A massive thank you to all of our fantastic viewers who tune in, week out to all the action here across all 5 of our divisions. Here at Rush Racing League, we wouldn't be here without you guys. Thank you for Kaos thank you to Kels for jumping in tonight and helping me out with the reserve program. Pleasure as always, mate. And yeah, so on behalf of everybody at Rush Racing League, my name has been Patrick Coleman. Myself and Kels have been your hosts and commentator for tonight's Grand Prix. Stay hydrated and tune in starting Saturday to watch the Hungaroring in full effect when we do a full distance Grand Prix. Stay hydrated, take care of yourselves, and have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.